What's going on, everybody? FYB presents Wise Word Wednesdays. Welcome to another episode of the Huddle Up. I'm your host, Joe Spite, and I do represent the Fresh. And I'm joined here by my co-host, E. What's going on, man? I am getting a little bit of feedback. Just a heads up, man. I know you got the Celtics thing on. I'm getting a little bit of feedback from your. Up there you go. Perfect, right there. I see you got the Celtics uni on, man. What's popping?
Man, we're feeling good, man. Feeling good, man. 2-0 to start the season, man. So things are looking right. Things are looking like they're supposed to.
No doubt, man. I want to appreciate anybody that's checking us out, whether you listening live on YouTube Live, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, or whether you listen to a recorded version. Appreciate you checking out. Make sure you follow the Wise Word Wednesday YouTube channel if you're not already. You can leave some comments. We can post the comments on the show. We can shout you out, show some love. So definitely appreciate that for sure. So let's just jump right into it, man. I know you starting off with your Celtics uni on, man. So what's going on, man? Boston making a statement on opening night and then actually backing it up the next day as well, too. E, how you feeling?
Feeling good, right? Good start to the season. Obviously, they had New York coming in. Everyone was looking forward to that matchup with the Knicks coming into town with, the new acquisitions of, Bridges and Carl Anthony Towns. So a big statement game. Obviously, you don't want to put too much into the first game of the season. They still have 80 games to go. And it's going to obviously take the Knicks time to gel. So you don't want to put too much into it. But at the same time, I think Boston made a statement that they're their team to be beat. Obviously, by the way that they played in this game, and not only in the Wizard game. Obviously, the Wizards are not a team that is contending, but they just went out there and showed why they're going to be in the thick of it when that time comes in the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely I think this was a good game. It was a good matchup. I think that anybody who was super hype and high on the Knicks being the number one seed, I think they kind of swallowed their words at that particular point because Boston let them know that nah, we still running it right now. I think we still got to give the Knicks time. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they still obviously they still missing Mitchell Robinson. They still have a lot of work that needs to be done, and with the gel of the team and whatnot. I think Cat still. He didn't look too good in the first game, but he's definitely looking good tonight so far as what I see. He didn't look too good yesterday, or I think it was 2 days ago when they played, but he didn't look too good either. But he was looking good tonight when I was watching him against the Pacers so far. But yeah, so definitely shout out to Boston, man, and shout out to all the haters that's been hating on Boston. I know E been talking a lot about the haters, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I just want to shout the haters out, and like I said, thank you for all the ones that gave the team motivation this season. There's a lot of talk, a lot of chatter with the Olympics and Brown being snubbed, Jason Tatum being benched. So we're going to see. I think it's going to be a fun and interesting season in Boston.
Yeah, I don't I don't still don't trip off the whole. I think the whole Jason Tatum being benched for the two games against Serbia was a little overrated. I think people put too much into that because those are the only two games. The other games he was shooting terribly, but I think it was just a matchup thing, and especially once KD got healthy and he came out blazing, I think it was an obvious choice to put him on. But what I will say is, I watched the interview that Jaylen Brown had with Stephen A. Smith, and I thought it was dope. I thought it was a good interview. I thought Jaylen Brown really got to talk his shit, which was super dope. The one other thing I want to shout out is that I think Jaylen Brown has actually become one of my top four favorite players in the league right now as well, too, after that interview. He doesn't do much talking. He's kind of a person about action. So I've been watching his moves and stuff like that, over the years. But that was a nice interview where I was really like, okay, he's one of my favorites. So far, my favorites are. I'm getting some feedback again from your from your thing, but my top favorites at this point, NBA players right now is Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and now Jaylen Brown. Those are my top four favorites in regards to players. But I don't know, did you check out that interview?
Yes, I did. I saw a little bit of it. I still need to go back and watch, but Jaylen Brown's been my favorite player ever since the departure of Isaiah Thomas. That's been my favorite player in the league. I just love his attitude. I love his mindset, and not only his play on the court, but I think since he came into the league his rookie year. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals. He, played well on a big stage. But even outside of, him playing well and being the kind of player that he is, one thing I do appreciate about him and Jason Tatum both is that they've had a lot of seasons where things didn't go right, things went south. If you look back to the 2021 season, they lost in 5 games. Obviously, Jaylen Brown was hurt that season. He had wrist surgery. He missed the entire playoffs. They lose in 5 games to the Nets. It wasn't even a close series. You look at the 2023 year, they go down 3-0 to Miami. Obviously, they storm back, but still lose a game 7. They've just had a lot of times where things didn't really go their way. And, typically, and a lot of times in sports, with things like that, when there's high expectations for a team, you can see things go left where one player may ask out or one player feeds into the, hey, maybe it's not going to ever work, maybe one of us does need to kind of be traded, or one of us does need to kind of move on in free agency. So I just commend both of them for sticking together, sticking with each other, and kind of seeing it through, and ultimately it paid off for them. So that's one of my reasons why I kind of love the duo, is because they've kind of always had each other's back. You've never really seen them throw each other under the bus, and they've always rebuffed those comments or statements that they need to be split up. They've always kind of stuck together and stated that they wanted to stay and play together.
Yeah, that's definitely real. And I know people was talking heavy trying to say like they need to be separated, you know what I'm saying? Especially people on ESPN. It was just a talk of the town, which I'm like, bro, these are still young dudes. They wasn't even 25 yet. And people were talking about they need to be separated. They need to split them up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, bro, it doesn't make any sense. Let these young bulls play, bro. They still got, like, if they were 34 and that was happening, they were 33, then I could be like, all right, nah, split them up. It's about that time. Bro, they was 25 and 26 and people talking about split them up. Give them some time, bro. And it all paid off. So I'm definitely, shout out to them. I just might buy me you know what I'm saying, a Jaylen Brown, you know what I'm saying, jersey. Cause after that interview, I said, yeah. I mean, like I said, I was already paying attention to Brown. I liking what he's saying, but now after that full interview, especially with Stephen A. and the way he was able to confront Stephen A. Smith about what he was saying and integrity and things like that, journalistic integrity, I really appreciate what he was standing on. Already appreciated him when he stood up for Kyrie Irving for what he was going through. I appreciated him when he called out different owners. He called out the owner of the Brooklyn Nets back in the day. He called out Nike and things like that. I definitely think he was disrespected for not being added to the the Olympic team, but obviously I think that was a politic move. I really do. I think that that's one of those situations that counted against him, but he's willing to stand on business and stand on what he stand on, and I respect that for him.
Yeah, 100%. I'm 100% agreeing. And I think I'm just looking forward to the rest of this season. I just think that they have a chip on their shoulder and they have a lot to prove, which is just, kind of crazy seeing as them being, the reigning NBA champions, for them to kind of have this much motivation. It's, exciting and fun for Celtics fans because you can see that they're ready to get after it again.
No doubt, no doubt. Moving on to the team that really matters. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Them Golden State Warriors, baby. You feel me? We had our our season opener was against the Portland Trailblazers. Kind of similar to what you were saying in regards to, you know, y'all's opening game as well. It's like it's not necessarily against a team that's that formidable, even though y'all play New York, which was a formidable team, but obviously y'all was winning against Washington. Washington isn't really a competitive team that much. That's kind of how I feel about this game as well in regards to with Portland, because they smacked them boys. But what I did like was the lineup that we decided to go with in regards to starting. We started. We went up with Trace Jackson Davis as a starting center. We had Draymond as starting forward. We had Kaminga as starting forward. Then we put Wiggins as starting two, and then Steph Curry at the guard. So that gave us a lot of wing defenders. It gave us a lot of opportunity to be able to switch on defense. We definitely struggled offensively. People were missing shots left and right. I think we shot 25% in the first quarter. But then after that, we came in with our bench, Buddy Hield, Brandon Pajemski. These folks came in just like knocking down shots, going crazy. And so it literally shifted our game. Buddy Hield went for 22. Steph Curry ended up having like 17, 10, and 9, 17 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. So it was really, really good to see that, we kind of look really good as a team right now. Steve Kerr saying he's trying to play 12 players. I think we'll see how that goes. I know he'll play maybe early in the season, but as things go, you'll start to figure out who your rotation actually is. But I was proud of my team, man. What's your thoughts, E?
The only thing I would say is obviously, they played the Portland Trail Blazers. I heard a very funny saying on the Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst and Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon. Uh, Portland is one of the teams playing capture the flag this year. Capture Cooper flag. So that is what I'm going to start referring to it as for the teams who are tanking. They are trying to capture the flag. So Portland is obviously in that race. I think I do like Portland. They have a lot of young pieces with Avia. Scoot Henderson is still a young player, still developing, only in his second season. um, DeAndre Ayton. They have a bunch of guys, Donovan Clingan. So I mean, they're a team that is, looking to just kind of, rebuild and do some things to kind of set themselves up for the future. But I think the biggest thing for Golden State is kind of finding what their rotation is going to be. Obviously, they have a lot of players, a lot of newly acquired players with DeAnthony Melton, Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, and it's going to kind of, ultimately come down to what is their rotation going to be like late in games, and who does Steve Kerr trust, and how does that fit next to Draymond. So it's going to be interesting to see, because of the way your team is kind of built and the way the Warriors are built with, Kaminga and Andrew Wiggins kind of being kind of the same kind of player, and still having some of the younger guys like Pajemski, Moody, and versus some of the the veterans you guys signed with D'Anthony Melton and Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson. So I'm just very interested and intrigued to see how Steve Kerr kind of works this team and what the rotation is going to be like. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think within the first half you guys had already played 11 players in the first half. I mean, that is a very, very big rotation in the first half of the first game. So I'm just interested to see how Steve Kerr kind of shortens up his lineup, and what kind of pieces and what kind of rotation he uses late in games.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch. Especially I just think defensively is what we're hanging our hat on at this point. Like defensively, we're looking really, really good. Like we have a lot of wing defenders. We actually had an Andrew Wiggins comeback. Andrew Wiggins was actually knocking down shots, being aggressive, getting to the hole. So that was super exciting to see. So we'll see if it's going to last. We know Wiggs is, been inconsistent over the past couple, year and a half or so. So we'll see if it lasts right now. But I was really appreciative of what I saw from him, not only on the defensive end, but on the offensive end with effort. You know what I'm saying? So Kaminga's still learning to develop. Moses Moody was going crazy as a 3-and-D player. So we're looking really good. We'll see, how it goes, long term. But I'm excited about that. Moving forward, Klay Thompson has his first game in Dallas. He ended up going for 22 points, shot 60% from the three, went 6 for 10. What are your thoughts, E, on Klay Thompson for Dallas, and what are your projection for them?
It's funny because I think they're most fans and most of fans of the game are a little bit indifferent in terms of, you have people who are on one side of the fence, completely on one side of the fence. You have a lot of people who say, man, Klay Thompson is completely washed, he can't play anymore, he's not good. Or you have people who are like, no, I think still Klay Thompson still is a very good player, he still has a lot to offer. I think that obviously with him playing with two ball dominant players in Luka and Kyrie Irving, he's going to get a lot of open looks, and they're going to run a lot of different actions and pin downs for him to get kind of his shots. So I think that it's going to kind of be a thing that he is going to have to kind of get comfortable playing with two ball dominant players. I mean, obviously he did it in Golden State with, when, Durant was there and Steph Curry was there. But I think it's just going to be kind of an adjustment period for him, but I'm expecting, him to have a good season. I don't think that he's a washed up player by far, by any means. He's one of the greatest shooters that has ever played the game. So I'm very interested to see how he kind of develops and how he kind of gels over time. But I think for the Mavericks, I think no matter what happens in the regular season, their mindset is going to be April, May, and June. What can we do to kind of preserve our health and get to April, May, and June. And I'm pretty sure Klay Thompson feels the same way. As long as I can stay healthy and we get to April, I can show everybody what kind of player that I still am, because that's when the lights are going to be on. That's going to be the biggest stage, right? Because we know most of our constituents, they don't really watch a lot of NBA regular season. A lot of people feel like, hey, 82 games is just too much for me to digest. So, the lights come on once the playoffs start. So I'm not surprised by it at all. I think Klay Thompson is still a good player, still a high IQ player, and he can still probably shoot it with the best of them.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely able to shoot. That's one of the things I knew he would still have a what's going on, my man Jason is in the comments. What's popping? Yeah, I think he can he can still light it up, you know what I'm saying, whenever. And I think people will in Dallas will learn Klay Thompson has times where he's really, really hot and when he's really, really cold. And that's what happens when and it averages out to where he still, he'll have a decent shooting percentage, he'll have a decent amount of points, but it's those times where he's cold that really gets frustrating, or when he's taking terrible shots. But they're gonna be really cool. I'm still interested to see how it's gonna work defensively, because losing Jones definitely affects their defense. And so I'm wondering how that's gonna work. Who's gonna be their perimeter defender? I know that right now they're looking at having what's their forward's name? Junior, what's his name?
Which guy?
Uh
I know they signed Najee Marshall in the offseason.
no,
Still
no,
have
he's
Najee Marshall. They
PJ
still have
Washington.
PJ Washington.
Yeah,
So
yeah. PJ Washington is what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm saying. I know they got PJ that they're looking at, saying guarding more of a perimeter defender. But I just wonder who, when it comes down to when you're playing guards like Steph Curry, when you're playing guards, what I'm saying, like like the Clippers that has, James Harden, or you got people that are guards like against Philly. Like when you have these people, these guards that are Ja Morant, like how are you gonna guard these particular guards? I'm interested to see. It's definitely curious, when you're playing CJ McCollum and them, like who's going to be the person that's going to guard those wings? You know what I mean?
No, I
Or the
think
perimeter.
they definitely they added Najee Marshall in the offseason. I think Najee Marshall is a 3-and-D wing. He gives them the perimeter defender. Is he obviously the defender that Derrick Jones is? Probably not, but he's still a quality 3-and-D wing in this league. And I also think to kind of touch on your point about how they're going to guard some of the more explosive and elite guards in the league, and specifically in the Western Conference. I would say I think they're going to heavily rely on team defense. I think that's kind of what kind of propelled them to the finals, and they're probably asking themselves, okay, we played a lot of dominant guards on our way to the finals. We played Shea in OKC, we played Anthony Edwards, so we got a taste of these different teams. What I will say is that I think one of the biggest things to pay attention to with their defense is going to be Derek Lively. Can Derek Lively take that next step and become, the enforcer and the defensive player that they think that he can be? When I watch Derek Lively, I automatically think, hey, this guy has a defensive player of the year ability. Not only defensively but athletically. He just brings so much to the court. So I think the development of Derek Lively will have a lot to do with their defense. So I think if Derek Lively develops into the player that they think that he can be, I think that completely changes their defense, because he can cover up so many of their deficiencies. I remember in the finals, game 1, when Dallas went on that big run to make it an 8-point game in game 1 when we were up by maybe 28. I remember defensively, Lively had just, like, I remember 3 or 4 plays I can remember where, I mean, he's just covering so much ground, where he's closing on shooters, he's getting back to the paint, he's affecting shots. I mean, he just was everywhere. So I think that if Derek Lively continues to kind of develop into the player they think they can be, I think in their minds they're going to be decent enough to be a good defensive team and still be one of the top teams in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. We'll see how it turns out. I definitely think I think regular season they're going to be good for sure. I think they're going to have a good regular season. I think it's just when it comes to the playoffs, I'm wondering how that starting lineup, when you have three guards or wings that don't necessarily play quality defense. That's the part that I'm worried about. I think the regular season they're going to be fine because people don't give as much effort, things like that. But when it comes to the playoffs, I'm wondering how that's going to work. But it's interesting to watch. I definitely still am a Klay Thompson fan. I am not a You know what I'm saying? Oh, what's up? Tone is in the comments. He said, here we go. But I'm definitely not, not one of those kind of haters. Like, even though I love Clay, I wish he would have stayed. I understand. I'm all about get your bag, do what's best for you as a player. So I don't hate, what I mean, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. I wish he would have stayed. But so I'm rooting for him, rooting for their success anytime they're not playing the Warriors, you know what I'm saying? Anytime they're not playing LeBron, anytime they're not playing Jalen Brown, I'm rooting for him. So those are my guys at this point. Or Klay Thompson's my guy. Will always be my guy. So no doubt. Moving
Shout
on,
out
man.
to
We
Klay.
getting through this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said just shout out to Clay, man, because I think he's been unfairly criticized. I think people also forget he's had two major injuries in his career, and he still kind of bounced back and still came back to be a solid player and still won a championship. So I think some of the criticism that he gets is a little bit unfair.
Yeah, it's a ton. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I don't like about that some, players sometimes it's like, or fans really, like they're so right. What have you done for me lately? You know what I'm saying? They forget that these is human beings. They have bad days, bad games. Like, of course, I was disappointed when he went over 10, you know what I mean, against the Kings. But I'm like, bro, if you know Klay Thompson, there are times when he has that. He can go literally like, you know what I'm saying, 14 and 14. He can go 0 for 25. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Clay.
I,
You know what I'm saying?
I remember in 2010 when the Celtics and the Lakers played in the finals. I believe it was Game Three. Uh, Ray Allen went 0 for 13 in Game Three in the finals. And that was a game they only lost by 4 or 5 points. And I remember the game before that. I think he was like 7 of 7 at halftime from three
Hmm.
in Game Two, which Boston won Game Two. So like I said, I remember in that year, Ray Allen just had me on an emotional roller coaster with his shooting. So it happens. It happens to the best of shooters. So I'm wishing Klay Thompson the best, and I'm looking forward to him having a good season.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Just don't beat the Warriors. That's all I gotta say. Final segment for this episode. High highs and low lows, man. What's
Well,
going
one of
on?
my high highs I want to say is I want to shout out Adam Silver. I think Adam Silver got a lot of criticism with the play-in tournament when the play-in tournament first came into fruition. But if you look, in my opinion, that this is going to be the best regular season in probably the last 20 years. If you look at the Western Conference is absolutely loaded. When you look at teams that did not make the playoffs last year, who are going to be vying back for a playoff spot due to their injuries last year. You look at a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, you know that they're going to be right back in the thick of it. You look at the Sacramento Kings, they had a lot of injuries last year. They added DeMar DeRozan, they're going to be in the thick of it. So you look at 1 through 10, even 1 through 11. The Western Conference is absolutely loaded. You look at teams like the Suns, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Houston Rockets. These are all teams that are going to be vying for a playoff spot. Obviously, with Kawhi Leonard's health, the Clippers are somewhere in that mix, maybe on the back end of that 10. But I just want to shout out Adam Silver. I just want to shout out Adam Silver because, like I said, I think this is going to be a very competitive regular season, especially in the Western Conference. I just think load management or players missing a lot of games is just not going to be a thing because if you do that, if you're a team in the Western Conference, and let's say you're the Pelicans, you can't really afford for Zion Williamson to sit 20, 25 games. That could be the difference between the fifth seed and the ninth seed. Whether you're playing in the fifth seed or you're playing in the ninth seed, playing in the playing game, right? So I just think that this is going to be a great regular season. You have, like I said, those 1 through 10 teams in the Western Conference who are all motivated and eager to get to the playoffs, and it's going to be a fight. So you're not going to see a lot of games where people are load managing or missing games. A lot of these games are going to be competitive because I think over the last 2 years, especially with the Western Conference playoffs race, I think a lot of teams like the Suns, the Lakers, the Warriors, they probably were kicking themselves, at the end of the season and looking back on their schedule and saying, we lost this game. We dropped this game to Chicago in December, or we dropped this game to the Kings in November. This was a winnable game against, the Brooklyn Nets. So you're going to see people trying to take care of business every night because of how stacked the league is. So that's going to be my high is shout out to Adam Silver for making sure and doing the things that he can do to produce a good NBA regular season.
No doubt, no doubt. I'll say for my high, and then I'll let you go into your low. For my high is y'all got my Warriors fucked up, man. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, bro. Like we not done. I said, I think what Marcus Peters said. I think we ain't done yet. I think we ain't done yet, man. My Golden State Warriors, man. Y'all better put some respect on our name, bro. Like put some respect. I know y'all think it's over for us. I first before the season started, based on the roster and how it looked, I said, man, we probably gonna be fighting, you know what I'm saying, for like that seventh, sixth seed, maybe. I think we gonna be 6-5 at this point. You know what I'm saying? I think once we get in the playoffs, I think then we can. There's pretty much it depends on the matchup at that point, but we could really do some damage. So my highs is that the Dubs aren't as bad as people think. They better start putting some respect on it because we're looking really good. We're looking like we're going to be defense like a high defensive team. A lot of IQ. We got some quality players, some good players. If health is not a concern this year for us, I will say we're stacked, we're loaded. So even if somebody other than Steph Curry goes down, we doing some things. So I just want to put some respect. That's my high. What's your low, man?
My low is going to be, the amount of injuries that we're seeing in the NFL. I know we didn't really talk about any of the NFL games here on this segment today, but just the amount of injuries that are in the NFL right now. Shout out to all those players who suffered, major injuries or season-ending injuries. It's just been kind of crazy. Teams are just ravished by injuries. Obviously, Deshaun Watson went down with an Achilles injury. Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. You had a other few other players around the league kind of get hurt. I think I just saw Christian Darrisaw, the tackle from the Vikings, had season ending knee surgery. Is going to require season ending knee surgery. So just the amount of injuries this year and how many teams are just experiencing just injuries after injury after injury. I even know, speaking about your Raiders, Jacoby Myers has been out, Christian Wilkins has been out. I know Max Crosby missed a few games here and there. So it's just been just a kind of a crazy season. I believe Marcus Epps is out for the year for you guys as well. So it's just been crazy, just the amount of injuries this year. I don't want to say it's anyone's fault because sometimes injuries are just something you can't control. I know Michael Lombardi always says when he talked to Bill Belichick, tell me when injuries are going to happen and then I'll sit the player. Obviously, they don't know when the injuries are going to happen, but it's just been just
Well,
very weird.
well, well, it is scripted, so they do know, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, according to Area Foster, it's scripted, so they should know. But yeah, just seriously, just all the amount of injuries this year have just been just unfortunate around the league. Just you just see how many players are going down, how many players are getting hurt. Derek Carr, Chris Godwin just went down with a season-ending injury. Mike Evans got hurt in the game. Derek Carr has been out. Rashid Shaheed had season-ending surgery. So when you just look around the league and you just see the amount of injuries, I would love. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I haven't seen in a while this many elite or top tier players or even relatively good players just miss so many games already shortly in the season, or you have so many players who are out for the season. So that's my low, and I'm wishing all of those players a speedy recovery and hopefully that they're back on the field next year.
Yeah, man, that's crazy because my low was actually regarding some injuries, but it was more towards the NBA, man. Kawhi Leonard, you know what I'm saying? Kawhi Leonard being hurt, looking like he's out indefinitely at this point with that knee. That's messing him up. He's getting some soreness and some pain there. And then you have Joel Embiid and Paul George both missing the season opener. It's definitely bad, man. The NFL's getting bad, which is I don't know why they decided to add that extra game to make it 17 games instead of 16 games. It's just messing up, man. But I definitely wishing a speedy recovery. But that also goes into my point of why I was trying to tell Ant the Warriors should not trade for Kawhi Leonard because I was like, bro, he's always hurt. And come to find out at the beginning of the season, he ends up being hurt
Yeah,
again.
I do want to comment on something that you said is with the NFL adding the extra week. I think at this point, like obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I have more knowledge than Roger Goodell and the people that are making the decisions. But it just seems like, man, the NFL could use another bye week, and maybe that bye week can be a season wide bye week where they're doing the Pro Bowl in the middle of the week. And I mean, obviously, the Pro Bowl is different than the All Star game because football is a more physical sport by nature. So I know a lot of players who don't want to go out in the Pro Bowl and get hurt. But I mean, even if they could do like a skills competition and do a bunch of fun things that they believe, NFL fans might want to get out and watch, I think if they said, hey, we're doing a 3-point contest for um, all the receivers in the league who make the Pro Bowl, I think people will watch that. I think that that's fun, even though it has nothing to do with the sport that they play. But I just would like to see a league wide bye week, another bye week added, uh, just for the players, just to kind of minimize injuries. Like, I just think that the sport is so physically demanding. You talk about the big hits. The short weeks with the games being played on Thursday or games being played on Monday, and you turn around and play Sunday. I just think that they have to do a little bit more to protect the players. These players, they're unfairly criticized by the fans, and even former coaches and former players unfairly criticize them, and it's unfortunate. So I hope that in the near future they put in a scheduled bye week, another bye week where they could do the Pro Bowl or do something. I just think they need another bye week to kind of give these players a chance to rest their bodies and get ready for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm all for the players, what I'm saying, taking care of their body, taking care of, you only got one, man. So I think, like I said, it's a shame that they added an extra game, extra regular season game. It's a shame, that people have to play on Thursdays or now Fridays, and then what I mean. So all this type of stuff, but I think it's unfortunate. So wishing all the players that got hurt a speedy recovery. I'm hoping that Kawhi Leonard can play again, in this year because, bro, he's a top talent. Like you cannot deny it. He's a top
Yeah,
talent.
and it's just unfortunate the way people talk about him. This is a guy who's won 2 NBA championships, two-time Finals MVP. This is a guy that when he's on the court, and even as of late, like I think people forget that the last couple times that he's been on the court, especially in playoff games, he's looked like himself. Right? It's not
Right.
like he's been a shell of himself out there. I think when he's been healthy the last couple years and he's been on the floor, he's looked like himself. He's looked like Kawhi Leonard. So I just think it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be on the court more than him. I mean, even if you're a Clippers fan or you're a Kawhi fan, you don't want him more on the court than he does. He wants to be out there. So I just think that we forget that injuries are an unfortunate thing, and sometimes players have, just the worst kind of luck with them. I mean, we've seen a lot of players, Brandon Roy, Derrick Rose, their careers being cut short by injuries, and I think sometimes the fans and even sometimes the former players in the media forget they have no control over that, right? They
Right.
have no control over, how their body responds. They want their body to respond, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. So it's just unfortunate. So, I'm wishing Kawhi a speedy recovery and hopefully he can get back on the court.
Yeah, and I was also doing some research, and that pick that they're about to give OKC this year, man. If the Clippers don't turn out to be well, man, it's gonna look like honestly, OKC is gonna have to make some trades, for sure. They're gonna make
Capture
some
the
trades after
flag.
this. They're going to make some trade. Well, the reason I say that is because they're going to make some trades because if the Clippers have a top 5 pick, you get a top 5 pick. You don't have the roster, you don't have the ability for him to develop. You're gonna have to somebody's gonna have to get traded. And so that's when I think the Warriors gonna come in and be like, listen, you give us whoop de whoop and we're gonna be cool. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just gonna have a dominant squad and they're gonna be all, they're gonna have to make some decisions in regards to the salary cap because I'm sure people gonna want extensions. Yeah, it's gonna be lovely for the Golden State Warriors. We love to swoop up, what I'm saying, one of them good picks. You feel me?
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, you got anything else you want to lead the people with?
Nah, man, go Celtics, go Eagles, and we will be back with you guys next week covering a little bit more football. I know we covered basketball. We wanted to just highlight basketball, but we'll be back next week with the football.
Definitely got a lot more football coming. We just did basketball because it's the opening season, this week, but we'll be back with football and basketball next week. So looking forward to. We appreciate y'all tuning in. I know it's a Friday. Usually we be doing Tuesdays, but we have some stuff to, what I'm saying, we had to take care of. A lot of folks been busy. Shouts out to Ant. You know what I mean? We know you out there taking care of business as well too. We're gonna see you next week, man. We fresh, and I love you. Y'all be smooth.